Australia passed legislation on September 8 with a pledge to reduce carbon emissions by 43% by 2030 and to net zero by 2050. Former President of Kiribati, Anote Tong, is widely known as a climate warrior, and he spoke with me about his concerns for this small island country. Tell us about Kiribati. It's just beautiful, but unfortunately, you know, the rising sea levels up to 2 metres, I believe, due to climate change. What are your main fears for Kiribati that we're just seeing on screen now?
Okay, well, we are the only country in the world that is actually in 4 corners of the world. We are east and west of the international date line, and we are north and south of the equator. So we have that very distinct characteristic. And of course, all of this will disappear when, as the climate change impacts get worse. We are already experiencing these impacts, but they will reach us in the coming years ahead. I don't know about how much longer we live, but it's possible that in my lifetime, I will see the worsening of this to the extent that what we are experiencing in the West. But of course, the IPCC report is indicating that our home islands will not be habitable beyond 2060. Now, the question really is, what happens then? Do we just fade away, or is there a plan to relocate out? I am reconciled to the reality that at some point in the very near future, our people will become climate, that they would have to relocate, otherwise they have no refuge. So that is the dire future that we face. And this is the kind of message that I am trying to communicate to the Australian people, that they do have a role in either our demise or the future of our children.
The climate bill for Australia was passed by the Senate, outlining Australia's greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets of a 43% reduction from 2005 levels by 2030 and net zero by 2050. And you were among other former Pacific leaders at the 51st Pacific Islands Forum in July, a strong message to the federal government outlining that the primary security threat to the Pacific Islands is climate change. Mr. Tong, how satisfied are you with the outcome of the climate bill that was just passed in Parliament?
Well, I think it's a very encouraging trend. I think what the present government and what the bill really states is a commitment. And that is very encouraging. It's something that we hadn't had in quite some time from Australia. And so it's very welcome. But again, I think we need to see what Australia has committed to via the bill and via the policies that the government has announced, and put that against the silence that is predicting some very dire future for mostly the most vulnerable countries, which includes my country and several of the Pacific Island countries.
And in falling short Australia's role in funding fairer climate action in a warming world, which is an alliance led by Oxfam Australia and also Action Aid Australia, they have called for the Australian government to increase its ambition on climate finance. So in your opinion, Mr. Tong, what else needs to be done?
Well, considerably more. I think as we've said over and over again, we are already experiencing and suffering the effects of climate change. This morning, I was just scribbling notes and trying to explain what is happening on a periodic basis. We get these, but more frequent and more severely, we are getting these impacts. You know, overtopping of the waves, which then affects our fresh water lens, which is underground. So that gets contaminated. Once in a while, we get destruction of food crops, and as I said much earlier, now we get some erosion on the side, and once in a while, it's destruction of homes. So this is what we have to deal with, and it's we are witnessing not only the frequency but the severity of these events.
Mr. Tong, you're the former president of Kiribati and certainly known as the climate warrior. You've also been named Mahatma Gandhi of the Pacific by a Grammy Award winner. Why are you so passionate about the Pacific, climate change? What brought you into this world?
Well, it's when I came into office in 2003, and I started reading on what has become my responsibility then for my people, and so I attended my first United Nations General Assembly event, and I was wondering, what do I say at this August party where everybody's talking about the problems, the issues, and of course on a larger global scale. And of course, I came across the reports of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. I heard about it when one of the former Valuan prime ministers had been talking about it. And so on reading this, it seems quite worrying because it was making some rather threatening projections about the sea level rise as a result of global warming, which of course for very vulnerable countries like ours would be serious. It's not kind of thing you take you have to take it seriously because of our great vulnerability. And of course, since then, I've stepped up the campaign as more of the IPCC reports came out. The 2004 assessment gave us until the end of the century as the time beyond which we may not be able to accommodate our home islands, may not be able to accommodate our people. And of course, subsequent reports of the IPCC have not only endorsed that projection, but given a shorter time scale. The latest report of 2000, the sixth assessment report of 2022 came out early this year. Is now saying that our home islands will become uninhabitable by the middle of the century. And so that is, of course, other scientific reports are coming forward that is adding to the projections of the IPCC, which many scientists regard as being conservative. So we are talking about a very grave, very serious challenge facing us in the decades ahead. It used to be long term, we could almost forget about it, but now we are in 2022 and we are experiencing these events here in Australia. We are experiencing the events. And of course, right now in Pakistan, experiencing devastating storms. And so the science and the events on the ground are actually coming together and endorsing the scientific report, so that cannot be ignored.
And Mr. Tong, there's a lot of controversy around Australia approving certain coal mines. What are your thoughts on this debate?
Well, it's not really my thoughts. I think I would just simply refer to the science and the plea by the United Nations Secretary General, which is that we should leave whatever fossil fuels, carbon is in the ground. If we do not do this, then the future of this planet is doomed. And of course, again, being on the very forefront of this, we're already on the process of having a very serious challenges ahead of us. And so any further digging up of fossil fuel, not just coal, would be detrimental to our future to the extent that our homes will no longer be habitable as predicted by the IPCC in the very near future.
And you have been advocating numerously on climate change for many years. You've also met leaders including former US President Barack Obama, Pope Francis. What are your next plans, Mr. Tong?
Well, I'm retired, as you know, and there are times when I thought I wanted to give up because the world is not listening. It does not seem to care. But of course, this is an option because I have a lot of grandchildren, and of course, many other people have grandchildren. And of course, it's their future that we would be giving up. And so I continue. I have, since retiring in 2016, I have continued my advocacy, and here I am trying to speak again to the Australian people. And of course, on this occasion, your government seems to be a lot more receptive. So it's a little different from my previous experience in visiting your country. And it's very heartening. And I really am hoping that we could take it from here to reach more effective climate action.